Hey, what's up, party people? Your boy BQ. This is the Negative BQ YouTube channel, and I've got no intro music this time around because I'm actually working on something new. I would like to have a new theme, new opening when I'm doing my Impact Lounge podcast. So stay tuned for that. Um, but we're gonna get into this. This is gonna be. I'm gonna talk about Bound for Glory here. Just kind of give you my predictions on the show. I'm not gonna overthink it. I'm actually gonna just kind of go with my gut on a lot of this if I can. I'm sure I'm gonna overthink one or two of these when I look at them here, but I'm gonna kind of try to go with my gut. I do got to throw out there. I did not watch the Go Home show. I usually don't. I just prefer to review the pay per view when it rolls around. The Go Home shows for me, like 60% of the time, are pretty bad. And I heard this one was not good, so I really just have. I saw the card and I had no interest. Um, it's not that I'm not committed to watching TNA for you guys, but the Go Home shows is kind of where I draw the line a little bit, and or if they do some weird crossover pay per view, kind of like they did this crossover show with Invasion. I did not watch that either. I just don't watch NXT. I don't have any interest in NXT. I don't have a problem with the NXT partnership by any stretch from a business standpoint to some of the matches we get on TV. I just stated months and months ago that if they were to do some kind of invasion angle, I didn't have any interest in that. And I just really still don't. So I followed the results and listened to reviews and seen highlights, and that's all I need. You know what I'm saying? I'm really just committed to the Impact TV show product and the TNA product in general. Just I had no interest in watching a NXT show, so it's just not my cup of tea. No, I'm just at this point in my life. No wrestling is really my cup of tea outside of TNA. So that's just where we're at with that. I know a lot of fans are expecting a TV deal to be announced at Bound for Glory, and I mean, frankly, this is what the fourth big pay per view of 2025, and every single pay per view, social media, everyone's like, "I bet TNA is going to announce their TV deal." I would keep those if they do. Awesome. I would keep those expectations low. I don't see why they would announce them at a pay per view. You know, with 15,000 people watching, what makes more sense, announcing in a Bound for Glory or Sean Sapp breaking the news? You know what I'm saying? I just to significantly more people. So I don't think it's going to happen in Bound for Glory. I don't think that makes any sense. I know like the diehard fans are like, oh, it's going to be the big announcement. If I'm wrong, I mean, freaking awesome. I'm totally open to being wrong. I would caution you to keep your expectations low for someone like that. It just doesn't sound like a pay per view, a TNA pay per view style announcement to me. It sounds like something that TNA gets out to the dirt sheets, at an opportune time where it's in front of maximum eyeballs. You know what I mean? But we're gonna do this one time for your mind. No sound clips, no nothing like that. We're just gonna get real simple with this. Before we get into the matches, I know the TNA Hall of Fame inductions. I don't um I don't really care about the TNA Hall of Fame like a lot of people do, but it's still kind of a cool moment. And as long as the wrestlers and the inductees make sense, it's fine. But I think Mickey James and the Beautiful People. I think that's awesome. I think the Beautiful People I think they needed to do that like a couple years ago. I would have done that over Rhino, Raven. And I think the interesting thing now with the partnership is that they're going to be able to induct like Bobby Roode and guys like this and AJ Styles eventually. They're going to be able to do that. Where in years of past, like there's been times where they just straight reaching for these inductions, and I think they even skipped it one year. So I think these are really good ones, and Mickey James has been on the show pretty recently. I mean, I say recent like a couple years ago. Beautiful People were even on it on the like 1,000th episode, I think. So I think these are good inductions. So that'll be like a cool moment. Knockouts Tag Team Championship. So this is going to be on the pre-show. It is the Inspiration versus the Elegance brand. Now, the pre-show usually favors the baby faces. I'm actually choosing the Elegance brand to get the titles back here, and there's a couple of reasons for it. We know that the Inspiration's deals are up after Bound for Glory, which I believe I saw that they're expected to re-sign. But man, TNA loves to put their titles on guys leaving the company, guys and girls. I mean, I think since the beginning of me doing this podcast 9, 10 years ago, however long it's been, I mean, it's pretty consistent that they do that. That said, I think the smarter business move, because anything could happen. I think Elegance brand is gonna win it back. I really compare this to when Zachary Wentz had that bullshit X Division title victory, just so he could take it to NXT and then go back to TNA and lose it. That's what I think is gonna happen here. I also think these two are gonna feud for the rest of the year. Because the more and more I think of it, they're usually pretty clear what their intentions are with the Knockouts Tag Team division. You know, like they throw us very few curveballs when it comes to the women. Excuse me, when it comes to the women. They've already kind of let us know that the Angel Warriors are next up and will probably win the belts, because if you put a team together in TNA, you're going to win the belts. And it makes more sense for them to feud with the Elegance brand. So I just have a feeling they're going to put the titles back on them. So I'm going to go with the Elegance brand on the pre-show. Tessa Blanchard versus Gia Miller. This is the one I am most excited about by a long shot, because I'm just so intrigued by it. I think it shows an importance. I mean, this is a very, very different storyline. I'm not comparing it to everything else that they do, but it still doesn't change the fact that it shows the importance of getting to a pay-per-view and you're watching a match where the two opponents haven't really got their hands on one another. Like, yes, Tessa Blanchard gave Gia Miller them hands. Don't get me wrong. But Gia Miller hasn't had no comeuppance whatsoever. There has been no situation where she's gotten the upper hand on Tessa. Now, granted, Tessa was off TV for a long time. But you guys understand what I'm saying with this. Like, it's something that, because it wasn't in our face and it wasn't on TV every single week, there was room for it to breathe, room for it to grow. That's something I think these other feuds could learn from. You know, when creatively they're writing these feuds, like sometimes you got to let stuff breathe a little bit. I think that's a lot of the reason I turned on Joe Hendry, was because nothing was left to breathe. Like, we just had Joe Hendry constantly shoehorned onto the show, even if the segment made no sense for him to be there. You know, so after a while, I'm just kind of like, oh my god, this fucking guy. You know what I mean? But with this, it's everything was slow. They didn't shove anything down our throats. It was really built very, very well. And Gia Miller cut one of the best promos of the year for TNA when she challenged Tessa Blanchard to this match. This match is going to be very, very telling, because if Gia Miller wins, there's absolutely no way Tessa Blanchard is coming back. That just makes no sense. Like, how can you possibly, a former world champion for the men and the women, how do you bounce back from that, losing to the backstage interviewer, when you're really one of the best women's wrestlers in the entire world? So I'm having a real hard time betting against Tessa Blanchard here. I think you can really, in defeat, I think you can really build a much stronger baby face in Gia Miller, and she can, even if she goes on as a backstage interviewer, can be very, very over for this company if they lay this match out correctly. You know, she can look good in defeat, and TNA's not good at that. They just prefer the baby faces stand tall. They are not good at, how can we make a baby face look good in defeat? That is not a strong quality of theirs. But this is an opportunity to do that, and I think yeah, I think she would benefit from it, and I think Tessa Blanchard has to win this match. I'm going with Tessa Blanchard. My concern is if it's too early in the card. Like the earlier matches in the card, also, just like I said with the pre-show, kind of favor the baby faces. If this is like the opener or something like that, then Gia's gonna win. But I'm gonna assume the Call Your Shot Gauntlet goes first, and Tessa wins after that. Speaking of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, not pushed at all, not promoted. Usually every year there's a storyline going into the Call Your Shot Gauntlet that tells us who's gonna win. They do that every year. Last year I was like, guys, Frankie Kazarian's winning the fucking match. I don't know what to tell you. This year I don't know. I mean, I do know. I have a strong feeling on who's gonna win, but there's just no story. There's no. They're not letting us know the competitors. Damn near. I did not watch the episode where Laying Lee got number one and Mance Warner number 20. Does that mean Mance Warner pinned her? I just know I didn't see the episode. I remember I know they always do some kind of six-way match or something like that. They typically have 3 surprises every time. One of them is decent. I'd say 2 are usually decent, and one is nonsense. Not one is, the demon, it's Swoggle, it's um I'm trying to think what kind of goof has shown up on TNA TV recently that could be in the match. Like Santino could be in the match. But there's typically one that is like absolute nonsense. I'm trying to think what it could potentially be. I'm like, is there some joke character that's shown up on screen recently? So yeah, I don't know, but Car Shot Gauntlet is something that I think could be a much bigger deal than it ends up being. Is on the show, and it is a Bound for Glory staple. I feel pretty good that Nick Nemeth is going to win this thing. I think it is time to circle back around to him being in the main event because clearly they're kind of done. It's not to say they won't keep the Nemeth brothers as a pair, but they're clearly not winning the titles back anytime soon. They don't really have anyone to feud with. They already wrestled Matt Cardona and the Hometown Man and lost. So unless unless they're trying to feud them with Cardona and Myers in some way, shape, or form, I just have to believe that Nemeth getting back into the world title picture against Mike Santana is what makes sense for all parties involved. So that's who I got winning this thing. TNA International Championship, Frankie Kazarian versus Steve Macklin. I think Frankie Kazarian will retain this title. Steve Macklin was a very good champion. This to me will be the best match on the card. I know everyone, oh no, they like the X Division stuff. Like, remember, we're just talking BQ's taste in wrestling. This will be the best match on the card for me personally. I'm pretty confident in saying that. But I think Frankie is going to retain. I don't see him dropping the title that quickly. There is the Jake something factor. Where's that guy? Is he picking out a new wardrobe somewhere? Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe he was on the Go Home show. Who knows? But they aligned him with Frankie Kazarian, and then he disappeared. So there's that factor. There's the other dude used to be in TNA. I don't remember his name for jack shit. I just call him Mil Mascaras. There's the factor of him getting involved. You know. That said, I perhaps the Call Your Shot Gauntlet features some AAA. That could be possible. So I got Frankie Kazarian keeping his title. X Division Championship, Leon Slater versus Javon Evans. This has been a big talking point on social media because Leon Slater pinned him in the or it's not invasion, but the showdown elimination match. We're just going with wrestling common sense, and I think Javon Evans is winning this title. I can see a scenario where this match is very early in the show. Javon Evans wins, and Tom Hannafin starts losing his mind on commentary because now all NXT has all the TNA titles. You know, I can see that happening for a very short period of time until the other title matches happen. But that is I see that story playing out on TV. the Hardys now are the NXT Tag Team Champions. There is no way in hell NXT is like, hey, you can have one of our, because they're the big brother in this. I know they're a developmental brand, but they're still the big brother in this. It's one thing if for NXT wrestlers the whole TNA titles, but there's no way NXT is like, hey, you can have one of our belts, and we're gonna have zero of yours. There's no fucking way in hell. So, especially since Javon Evans, I believe, is a babyface, I think he's winning the X Division Championship. I think we're gonna see a lot of title changes here. I think the international championship's the only one that's just gonna stay put. And that's a bold prediction because they don't usually change a lot of titles. There was one pay-per-view maybe in the last couple of years where all of them changed except one. That's not the norm. Usually only a couple change, but I do think Bound for Glory end of the year, I think that's an opportunity to freshen things up. So I think we're gonna get several changes. Knockouts Championship, Kalani Jordan versus Indy Hartwell. Talk about an ice cold knockouts title match. I know this is not what they wanted for Indy Hartwell. And they sure as hell just slotted Kalani Jordan right into Ash by Elegance storyline and trying to make it make sense. It's been not good. I don't think the fans have enjoyed it. I don't think they have an issue with her, but it's just the randomness of it. I don't know if a lot of TNA fans even know who Kalani Jordan was. And there's a lot of holes in this, and I understand they had to make some changes on the fly, but I think Indy Hartwell's definitely winning this championship. I don't think this match is going to be good. They wrestled in the mixed tag 6-way last week, or 6-man tag last week. Their interaction, the few times they were in the ring together, looked very bad and clunky. And now the spotlight's on them. I think this match is going to stink, but I think Indy Hartwell's going to win. And I don't think this is what TNA wanted for her. Think about Joe Hendry taking forever to win a title. Mike Santana taking forever to win the title. I think they were going to pull that with Indy Hartwell too. I don't think she was beating Ash by Elegance. But obviously Ash is out of the picture. There's really no reason to keep the title on Kalani Jordan. I think if she beats Indy Hartwell in this match, I think the TNA fan base may lose their minds. And here's the thing too, is that we'll get to the world title picture, the world title match here in a sec, but if Mike Santana wins, do they want to take the spotlight off him by Indy Hartwell also winning the title back? It's going to be interesting to see how they approach that, but I'm really going to try not to overthink it, and I'm going to say Indy Hartwell is taking the title back. You have known from the day she stepped foot in TNA they were going to put this belt on her. That is one thing with TNA. All the champions in advance. You don't know when they're going to win them. I think when Scott was around, or even Dixie Carter around, they would put the title on him immediately almost. How many times Jesus Christ, just on the Pop TV era, there was like at least 3 world title changes that happened like on a debut. You know what I'm saying? So we're way past those days, thank God. But we also always know when they bring these people in, like we know they're winning. You know what I'm saying? So it's time for Indy Hartwell, and I think she very easily wins this championship. TNA World Tag Team Championship and NXT Tag Team Championship. Jesus Christ. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy versus Bully Ray and Devon in a tables match. You know what? I completely overshot the Hardcore War. Let's get into that first. Hardcore War is the system. It's going to be Moose, Eddie Edwards, Alicia Edwards, Brian Myers, Johnny Dango Curtis versus the Order 4. Mustafa Ali, Tasha Steeles, John Schuyler, Jason Hotch, and Agent Zero, a.k.a. the Order 5. I have to assume Ali beat JDC on this past episode of Impact. But aside from that, the Order 4 don't beat nobody. Mustafa Ali didn't even win on the. That's why I don't understand why they put him in that match with Ethan Page, because he was going to lose, and he did lose. So Order 4 has done nothing but lose the last couple months. The hardcore war is usually geared towards the babyface team. And I will say I am disappointed because the Order 4 when they had the match Moose versus Mustafa Ali for who has the advantage, Order 4 and I think the system as well were banned from ringside. Tasha Steele still interfered in the match. So I said, I'm going to give TNA the benefit of the doubt that when they go, this next episode of Impact rolls around, they're going to reverse the decision, which will protect the baby faces because they'll lose the match, even with the advantage. It's better for the baby face to lose. I guess my point is it's better for them to lose if they have the advantage, in my opinion. I know that might sound a little bit backwards, but yeah, you know what? That probably is backwards. So I guess I can see why they didn't do it, but I don't know. It just, I have some interest in this. I'm not going to say I have zero. Okay. I said there was going to be something here I was going to overthink. I'm having a hard time in my mind saying, okay, the Order 4 has the advantage and they win. But then if the baby faces have the advantage and the Order 4 wins, they look weak. So I think TNA oftentimes kind of books themselves into a corner with these hardcore war matches, which is why the baby faces just always win. That is the easy thing to do. If they don't have the advantage, if they do have the advantage, it baby faces up. Like that's just the easy route to go. But man, the system has looked way too strong going into this. I mean, Alicia Edwards pinned Tasha Steeles. The system's looked way too strong going into this to be some kind of blood feud. I'm gonna go with the Order 4. I'm going with them winning this. I don't know how, but I'm gonna say that they win this thing because please give the heels some kind of momentum out of this fucking show. And as I said before, you can revisit Ali and Mike Santana world title in the world title picture. But for that to happen, the Order 4 has to win. And it's probably time to move on from the system. It's probably time to break them up. They've had this babyface run, which has been okay. It was just odd because they were, dastardly heels one week and then slapping hands with the fans the next week. I think it's time to split them up. I think we've had the system going for quite some time. However, they just released a new shirt, so that's probably not going to happen. But I'm going to go with the heels in the hardcore war, even though the safe money is the baby faces because it is a baby face match. It is also a garbage match. So let's go back to the TNA World Tag Team Championships. I'm sorry about that. So Team 3D versus the Hardys. I mean, talk about a match I have no interest in watching. And I know this is one of the big matches they're promoting. And they're doing a good job of it. I don't think the match needs the titles. TNA also obviously very much disagrees with that because they want to have graphics where there's all these belts and there's even more belts. There's 4 belts on the line here. Well, 2 sets of belts. They want all these championships. I get it. Trust me, I get it. My mind is always very forward thinking though. And I'm just like, how can we build up another tag team? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying I didn't feel this needed the belts. I felt, man, what if the Nemeth brothers are defending the titles on the show and we build up some kind of babyface tag team to go against them and we take a chance on them. We take a risk and say, hey, Myers and Cardona versus the Nemeths. Like, let's try to steal the show, the 4 of us. Let's take a risk. This isn't a super high profile match, but let's take a risk. That is where my mindset always is. TNA usually goes with the safe money though. But tables matches I have zero interest in. Doesn't matter who's. I mean, Matt Hardy wrestled AJ Francis in one a couple weeks ago. And I fast forwarded through the whole thing. It's one of the silliest matches in wrestling. You could hypothetically win it in the first 2 minutes of the match, and it's a very nonsensical match. Like, set up a table and body slam your opponent through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, knock the tag team partner out of the ring, or have your partner distract them on the outside, get the advantage in the ring, and body slam them through the table. You body slam them any other time during the match, just perfectly fine, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the dumbest, laziest concepts I think there is in wrestling for a stipulation match. They go way too long. You know, they try to be cool and set them up in the corner, which they always have a hard time breaking them that way. Just set it up in the middle of the ring and body slam them through it. Game over. You win. So the Hardys are going to win this match here. There's zero chance fucking Team 3D wins the NXT Championship. The TNA champ. Get out of here. So I mean, for nostalgia reasons and all that, I get it. Okay, they've been building this match in Slammiversary. I just don't care even a little bit. And then the TNA World Championship, Trick Williams versus Mike Santana. I think these guys have gotten their hands on each other entirely too much. No one's got their hands on each other more than the System in Order 4, though. My God. And the problem is, it just seems like we look at this show and the lineup, and it's like, man, I feel like I've seen all these matches already. You know, not all of them, obviously, but I think these two have gotten their hands on each other way too much. I think they waited a pay per view too long for Mike Santana to win. I understand the storylines. You know, obviously, to make the invasion storyline work and all that. I get it. I get it. And just like they did with Joe Hendry, just when you think he's going to win, they're going to make you wait one more pay per view. I think they have, all things considered, I think this is one pay per view too late for Mike Santana, because his promos start becoming the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, and it's like, oh my God! At first you're like, oh, what a promo, and now it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, this guy's talking about his daughter again. Like, put the belt on him. So, I mean, this match should be very good. They both obviously can work. Mike Santana is going to win this thing, though. It is Bound for Glory. They're not sending people home with Trick Williams at Bound for Glory winning again. I mean, this is one of the more obvious title changes we've seen in a long time. But you know, I am optimistic that Mike Santana will be a good champion. I know this is something he very much wants. This is all about this. There's a story here, him going all the way back to AEW, like wanting more for himself and betting on himself. Like, this is the culmination of that. So that's a huge deal. So I think he'll definitely be the man. I'm a little worried about the title run because he's going to have to switch up his content. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a great promo, but he's going to have to switch the content up a little bit. He made good use of everything he had said, talking about his family, you know, his late father. He's done a very, very good job of that. But it's time to switch things up. It's no different than Joe Hendry not switching things up when he became world championship and still being a goofy motherfucker. Like, obviously, Mike Santana is not a goof. He is, you know, one of the cooler wrestlers on the roster. But I always think when a babyface wins a title, that you've got to switch things up just a little bit. So we'll see how that run happens, but definitely Mike Santana will win. So just to recap, I think the Elegance brand will win their titles back. I think Tessa Blanchard will beat Gia Miller. I think Nick Nemeth will win the Gauntlet. I think Order 4 will win the Hardcore War. I think Frankie Kazarian wins the International Championship. Retains it, excuse me. I think Javon Evans wins the X Division Championship. I think Indy Hartwell wins the Knockouts Championship. I think the Hardys retain their titles and in a match that I expect to stink. And then Mike Santana to win the world title. So that will do it. As far as Bound for Glory goes, I'll be coming back from California, going to a USC football game. I don't know if I'm going to be watching Bound for Glory as it airs. I don't know if I'm going to have to play catch up halfway through. I don't know exactly yet, but I do have the next day off from work. So I will get caught up and I will review Bound for Glory on Monday. That'll do it for me. I'm your boy, and I'm out. Peace.